From the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know at the News You Trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution, I'm Joel Norwood with today's farm news. New legislation introduced in the House and Senate looks to extend a new sustainable aviation fuel tax credit for biofuels for 10 years and also to prevent foreign producers from accessing those credits. The groups like the National Corn Growers Association applauding that the 45Z tax credit provides incentives to refineries that produce biofuels that can be used in commercial aircraft, and the National Oilseed Processors Association and the American Soybean Association also hailing the legislation. USDA has released a new food price forecast for this year. A look at how inflation has impacted food prices, and the numbers might surprise you. USDA economist Megan Schweitzer.
So food at home, or grocery prices, are predicted to increase by 1.1% in 2024. And so that forecast ticked down by 0.1% from last month. Food away from home, or restaurant prices, are predicted to increase by 4.1% in 2024, steady from last month. And then in 2024, all food, so both grocery and restaurant prices, are predicted to increase by 2.2%. And that forecast also ticked down by 0.1% this month.
And speaking of prices, DTN says that a retail fertilizer trend tracker shows both potash and 1034O down 7% since last month. UAN 32, 6% less expensive. 4 other fertilizers, DAP, MAP, urea, and 28, all down. One fertilizer slightly more expensive, that would be anhydrous. All those fertilizers, except for 2, all lower compared to a year before. DAP is up 5%, while MAP is 8% higher. Leading the way down, though, urea, 14% lower compared to last year. The Federal Reserve recently cut interest rates by 0.5 point. That's a little bit more than some economists had expected. And with that reduction, oil trade prices have moved higher, much of the time impacting other commodities as well. That spent much of the past week in the mid-$70 per barrel range. Patrick DeHaan is with Gas Buddy, says there was concern that if the Fed cut interest rates by that much, there would be a sign the U.S. economy was not as healthy as once thought.
Yeah, at least for now, the concerns about the larger-than-expected rate cut were tempered by Jerome Powell's comments last week. I think he really spelled it out very clearly that the larger-than-expected cut, not necessarily due to a slowdown in the economy, or at least not concerning enough at this point yet. And that's really why the stock market and why oil prices didn't really plummet more. I think he was able to assure the market that everything looks to be in order in this case, at least for now.
So how long does he expect oil prices to inch higher?
I don't know that it's a trend that will continue, but we'll have to keep an eye on the Middle East. I mentioned that the Middle East certainly can be a wild card in what happens there. So I don't know if I'm not led to believe that the oil price rally will be drawn out and sustained. We'll have to see if the market can maintain these elevated levels. But again, we have another area of disturbance in the Gulf that could make its way towards the U.S. here later this week. So a lot of different wild cards. I don't think oil prices are going to retest the sub-$70 a barrel mark. We could head somewhere into the mid-70s for now, but that shouldn't impact gasoline prices much, simply because gasoline demand last week was rather sluggish. Gas Buddy data showing that U.S. gasoline demand last week fell by over 2%.
He says keep in mind that kind of gasoline demand typical for this time of year as we transition into the fall. Hurricane Helene making landfall down into the Gulf Coast. And what does that mean for moisture coming up our way in the Buckeye State? Ohio AgNet Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin checks in.
Helene is going to be trying to work her way toward the region here as we move through the next 24 to 48 hours, making landfall in eastern parts of Florida's Panhandle tonight, and that's going to throw moisture up into Ohio for tomorrow, probably arriving in southern parts of the state right before daybreak, and then spreading northward over the rest of the state through the rest of the day. I think we have to pencil in 1/4 to maybe 2 inches over a large part of the state. We're going to then see wraparound backside moisture. I guess it's not backside, but just lingering moisture through Saturday afternoon and probably Sunday. Not a lot of moisture there, but plenty of clouds for sure. I'm Ryan Martin.
And stay tuned. Up next on the Ohio AgNet, we take a look at market numbers from today's trade in Chicago.
Navigating mental health insurance benefits can be overwhelming, but you don't have to do it alone. The Mental Health Insurance Assistance Office is here to guide you. Our expert team will help you connect with your health insurance plan to understand available behavioral health benefits. Say goodbye to frustration and hello to control over your mental well-being. Call 855-438-6442 today.
Grain markets down, livestock markets up as we take a look to what commodities are doing after Thursday's close in Chicago. The Board of Trade showing new crop corn down 2 cents to $4.13 1/4. March corn off 2 1/4 to $4.31 per bushel. Soybeans erasing any of their gains they saw on Wednesday, with November off 12 1/4 to $10.41 for the new crop. Jan beans at $10.59 1/4 per bushel, off 12 1/2. Next July wheat contracts off 3 1/4 to $6.20 per bushel. Markets powered by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. October live cattle $1 and a nickel up to $1.84 and a dime. October feeder cattle $246.93. That's a 90-cent gain. October lean hogs 45 cents lower to $82.03. And milk not having the best day. Class 3 is down 14 cents for October to $23.31, though they've had some nice gains in recent days. This is the Ohio AgNet.